Central Park in July 1987 was a postcard of summer tranquility. Tourists sprawled on picnic blankets, children chased ice cream trucks, and the Bethesda fountain glinted under the midday sun. Among them was Ingrid Bergström, a 24-year-old Swedish backpacker with a Nikon slung around her neck, and her boyfriend Lars Winter, a lanky history graduate student obsessed with Cold War conspiracies. Their argument that morning had been petty. Lars wanted to hunt for hidden Cold War relics in the park, while Ingrid insisted on seeing the Statue of Liberty. To placate him, she'd agreed to one quick detour, a crumbling stone archway near the Ramble, where Lars swore a classified 1950s bunker lay buried. "This is it," Lars said, kicking a rusted sewer grate with his boot. The metal groaned, flakes of orange peeling away. Ingrid snapped a photo, rolling her eyes. "You're obsessed," she teased, but as Lars stepped onto the grate for a mock heroic pose, the iron gave way with a shriek. Ingrid's camera captured the exact moment he vanished, mouth wide, arms flailing, swallowed by the earth as cleanly as a magician's trick. The hole exhaled a damp, fungal stench. Ingrid's screams drew a crowd, but when police arrived, they dismissed it as a collapsed storm drain. "Happens all the time," an officer shrugged, radioing for a repair crew, but Ingrid had heard it, a faint, echoing cry from below. "Ingrid, it's not abandoned. They're still here." At midnight she returned alone, a flashlight clenched in her trembling hand. The grate had been hastily covered with plywood, but it took one hard kick to splinter it. The drop was 15 feet, ending in a slurry of mud and rotting leaves. Her beam cut through the darkness, revealing walls of jagged brick slick with algae. The tunnel sloped downward, narrowing into a throat of dripping pipes. 5 minutes in, her light grazed something metallic. A dented nameplate. Project Nightshade, authorized personnel only. Beneath it lay a waterlogged leather satchel. Inside, Lars's passport, a half-eaten candy bar, and a faded blueprint titled Emergency Continuity Site, number 7-1956. The map showed a labyrinth beneath Central Park, rooms labelled Biocontainment Zone and Specimen Storage. A red stamp bled across the corner. Terminated, all assets burned. A wet, guttural click echoed behind her. Ingrid spun, her light catching a shadow darting into a side passage. Something about its movement was wrong. Too low, too fluid. She ran, sneakers slipping on sludge, until the tunnel dead-ended at a steel door. Its handle was crusted with something dark and flaky. Blood, she realized, as it smeared under her palm. The door opened into a cavernous chamber, its ceiling strung with cobwebbed cables. Rusted gurneys lined the walls, their straps frayed to threads. On a desk lay a journal, its pages warped by moisture. Ingrid's flashlight trembled as she read aloud. October 12th, 1957. Dr. Robert Valesky, lead virologist. They told us it was a flu vaccine. Lies. Nightstar 7 isn't for immunity, it's for aggression. Phase 3 trials began today. Subject 12, male 32, exhibited increased strength but refused food. By nightfall, he'd chewed through his restraints. They found him in the kennel, feeding. God help us all. A Polaroid slid from the journal. A man in a lab coat, his eyes bulging, veins black as ink. Scrawled on the back, Subject 12, 8 hours post-injection. Ingrid gagged. The next photo was worse. A row of body bags, their zippers burst open from the inside. A clang reverberated above. She froze. Something was moving through the vents, a skittering, like cockroaches, but heavier. Her light caught a shape crouched in the corner. At first she thought it was a dog. Then it turned. The creature's eyes were lidless, glazed with a milky film. Its jaw unhinged, revealing needle-thin teeth. Ingrid stumbled back as it lunged, her scream swallowed by the dripping dark. She woke in a cell, her head throbbing. The door was barred, but through the slats she saw a figure slumped at a desk. A skeleton in a tattered lab coat, its finger bones curled around a syringe, labelled Project Nightshade 7. A note lay under its skull. To whoever finds this, burn the compound, burn it all. They're in the walls now, they're hungry. Dr. Valesky, October the 29th, 1957. Ingrid's fingers brushed the syringe. The glass was icy, the liquid inside still shimmering an unnatural green. A noise made her whirl, a wet, rhythmic slurping. Through the bars she glimpsed a shadow bent over a pile of meat. It wasn't human, its spine arched like a scorpion's, joints bending the wrong way. She smashed the syringe against the bars, clutching the jagged stem as a weapon. The creature's head snapped up, nostrils flaring. It charged, but Ingrid was faster, jabbing the glass into its throat. Black ooze sprayed her face as it collapsed. The hallway beyond was a gallery of horrors. Cells filled with bones, claw marks scoring the walls. Graffiti screamed silently, "They're in the walls. Tapo, don't sleep." Day 14. I can hear them laughing. At a fork, she chose the tunnel stinking of rot. Her light grazed a boot, Lars's boot caked in mud. She followed the trail to a steel door marked Quarantine. Inside, a VCR sat on a table, a tape labelled Interview I-42, Eli Martinez, 1982. The footage showed a gaunt man in a straitjacket, his eyes darting like cornered rats. "Name's Eli," he rasped. "I was homeless, slept in the tunnels. One night I heard singing, followed it down here. Big mistake." The interrogator leaned in. "What did you see?" "People, or what used to be people. They crawled on the ceiling, man, eyes like fucking cats. They'd grab you, drag you into the vents. I hid in a freezer for 3 days, ate raw rats to survive. When I got out, the cops didn't believe me, locked me in this nut house." The screen fuzzed. When it cleared, Eli was gone, the chair overturned, a final note scrawled in blood. "They found me." Ingrid ejected the tape. Under it lay a list of names, 14 entries, all crossed out except Lars Winter. A hand clamped her shoulder. She turned, expecting Lars. Instead, a creature loomed, taller than the others, its skin mottled with fungus. It spoke in a garbled hiss. "You shouldn't have come back." Ingrid ran, the creature's breath hot on her neck. She ducked into a lab, barricading the door with a filing cabinet. Drawers spilled classified documents. Project Nightshade, 1956 to 1957. Developed bioweapon to enhance soldier resilience in nuclear war. Side effects: hyperaggression, photosensitivity, organ liquefaction. Trial 14. Subjects began cannibalizing staff. Site terminated via fire. 14 personnel unaccounted for. A photo showed soldiers welding the bunker shut, screams echoing from below. A clatter came from the vents. Ingrid grabbed a fire axe, swinging wildly as a creature dropped from the ceiling. Its skull split like rotten fruit. Another lunged, but she ignited a lab coat with her lighter, driving it back. In the chaos, she missed the figure in the corner, Lars, chained to a pipe. His eyes were pure black, veins spiderwebbing his face. "Ingrid," he croaked. "Yo, have to burn it." He'd been bitten, he said. The infection was spreading. "There's a fuel depot below. Light it and run." They fought through the horde, Lars weakening with every step. At the depot, Ingrid smashed gas cans, dousing the walls. "Go!" Lars shoved her toward a ladder. "Now!" The explosion blew her into daylight. Fire belched from the grate as sirens wailed. Authorities dismissed her story, sealing the tunnels for renovation. But Ingrid leaked the blueprint online. Conspiracy forums erupted, though most called it a hoax. Years later, she returned to Central Park. As tourists laughed by the fountain, she pressed her ear to the grate. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Something was still down there, and it was digging up.